Press it.
Oh, that works, I guess. Yeah, that works. Okay, go for it.
I can't tell. Okay. So I work as an intern at the Environmental Finance Center at Syracuse University. And a lot of the times what I do is I go to a lot of small municipalities in upstate New York, and I help bring GIS technology to them. And so it's an interesting job because I get to meet a really wide range of people from a lot of different demographics. And one time, the first trip that I took to a town, I was with my supervisor, and we walked into the town clerk. And as I walked in, there was a receptionist person, and she at first thought my supervisor was the intern.
And you felt uncomfortable in that situation?
I felt a little uncomfortable because I felt like she was maybe assuming that he was the intern because he was male. And but later on I said, no, I'm actually the intern. And then she went on to say something along the lines of, oh man, it's a pretty girl, like I need to tell everyone to be nice when they like come out to meet me. And so then these three men from a lot of different departments, from the Department of Water and just a lot of different people from the town, came out and met me, and the situation kind of just declined. And so they basically were just saying sort of like comments like, oh yeah, she's a pretty one, like we gotta keep our eyes in our heads and stuff like that. And as we were walking to have a meeting, they one of the guys said something about like not checking out, trying not to check out my butt because I was walking in front of them. And so it just made me feel very, very uncomfortable.
And you didn't feel like you could confront anybody about that?
No, I mean, because it was just like, I was literally the only female in the room. And I mean, these were all men, besides my supervisor, who's in his 20s. These were all men who were in their 40s to 60s, so a much later generation. So I feel like my subconscious was kind of chalking it up to just like, oh, they grew up in a different time, like they don't know that this is inappropriate to say to a woman who is trying to do work. So yeah, it was a really interesting experience, and immediately afterwards, when we were walking out away from the meeting, my supervisor, who as I mentioned was in his 20s, he immediately apologized for everything because he knew it was wrong. But it was just a very odd experience because, I mean, because our generation, I feel like, is getting a little better about women and not completely objectifying them. But it's like that older generation still just doesn't really get that you can't say those sort of things to young women.
Did you feel like your supervisor confronting the situation helped it at all?
I think him saying something about how he felt bad about the situation. However, he didn't really say anything when the situation was taking place. He just kind of chuckled along with the men, which increased my awkwardness and how uncomfortable I was feeling. So then when he apologized later on, it sort of made me feel like, okay, you were just trying to be polite as well. You weren't actually like totally thinking of me as a sexual object.